David Icke at Ascot Racecourse for the first part of his Wake Up Australia tour. What made you decide to come to Australia, David?
Well, I like horse racing, that's what it is. It's the first time I've spoken in a racecourse, it's interesting, it's nice. I'm kind of going everywhere. It's called the Worldwide Wake Up Tour because for the last 26 years I've been travelling all over the world, asking questions like, who really controls world events? Why is the world coming in the direction it is, to more and more surveillance, more and more control, more and more what Orwell envisaged? And I don't think for a minute I looked at it that Orwell and Aldous Huxley, Brave New World, were coming from pure imagination. Because, first of all, Orwell and Huxley knew each other. Huxley taught Orwell French at Eton College, where the Royals go. And what they said in their books was coming is clearly coming. And the reason so many people now are turning to look at my work, this is why I go around the world and talk to thousands of people, having 26 years ago I couldn't fill phone books, is because what I was writing in books in the 1990s is now being read on television news in terms of changes in society. There is no doubt whatsoever when you put the dots together so the picture can be seen that there is a coordinated global network that is pushing the world in this particular direction. And what's fascinating for me as I travel around the world is I take the basic presentation and then I go into a country like Australia now and I go through the subjects and then I research those subjects in that country. And every single time, and again, it's happened, as I knew it would with Australia, is what is happening in Britain, what's happening in North America, what is happening in Europe, what's happening in Africa, what's happening in South America, is happening in Australia. Why? Because there is a global network pushing the world in this direction. And I explained in the talks, is why it took me so long, what this network is, how it works, and how you can literally control the lives and the direction of the world for billions of people.
Have you ever met Elron Hubbard? Since when he was alive, and what was your experience with him?
Well, I never met Ron Hubbard. I think Scientology is something that is part of the problem and part of the solution.
Have you read any of his work?
Yes, I've read some of them. You see, religions and belief systems are part of the problem. If you want to stop people seeing the world as it is, you have to remove their peripheral vision. And by that I mean the ability not just to focus on one dot, but to see how the dots connect. That's how you see pictures. You don't see pictures with a pixel. You see pictures with pixels together, making the picture. And so any belief system that you can give a name to, like a religion or even political, is focusing your attention on a dot at the loss of peripheral vision. And it's in the peripheral vision that you see the forest. It's at the dot level, you only see a twig. And what are all these twigs? What do they need? Then you see the forest and you go, whoa, I can see what's happening now.
I think Elron Hubbard, he used Scientology in some ways, like you get certain tax benefits and stuff as running as a religion, even though that's obviously not what you go for. Is it tempting to run your business as a religion for the tax benefits?
No, it's not. It's not tempting to me to run anything except as a free-flowing, free thought, looking at all possibility and seeing what the truth is, rather than, no, it's not really a religion, even though if you don't do this, you're an outsider, you're not doing it right. But it's good for tax benefits. Damn the tax benefits! We need people to go to a state of free thought where everything is looked at in and of itself does it make sense? Never mind what you were told at school, never mind what you're told by the mainstream media, never mind what you're told by peer pressure. What do you think of this situation? Because if you look at most people's beliefs, and I will today go through and explain how this, very early on, how this whole process of perception programming works from cradle to grave. But most people don't get their opinions from dispassionately looking at information and coming to conclusions, personal, unique conclusions on it. They basically take a download externally. If you ask people, how do you know that? They'll give you an external source from which that came. What I'm saying is, take your power back, start looking at information dispassionately, without preconceived idea, without reflex action dismissal, and say, not have I been told this is right by some aspect of the system, what do I think about it? And make your own mind up. And when you go through the process of dissecting, as I do through the day, the norms in society that everyone takes to be the real world, it's a joke, it's laughable.
Well, that's something you had to deal with, like people saying everyone's laughing at you, and that's like a really, you've got to take back your power and go, no, this is me and that's other people. What's your opinion on psychiatrists and the power that they can hold over people and the mental health system in the United Kingdom?
Well, I think the mental health system in the world in general is founded on a complete misunderstanding of the nature of consciousness. They're still going on about consciousness comes out of the brain, manifests from the brain. I mean, look at the evidence from the cutting edge, and you see that's nonsense. The brain is a processor of information. It's not the origin of the information. Consciousness is outside the body, and the body is a vehicle for consciousness to express itself in this world, or what we think is the world. Now, you know, here's just a perspective of just how myopic the world is. This real world that people perceive as normal. According to mainstream science, the electromagnetic spectrum is 0.005% of what exists in mass and matter energy in the universe. Visible light, which is the only ludicrously narrow frequency band that we can see as a visual reality, is a fraction of the 0.005%. And even within that tiny fraction called visible light, the Earth we are living on, compared with the size of the universe, is about a billionth of a pinhead by comparison. And we still have people saying, oh, do you think there's life existing other than humans? I mean, I think there's a chance. Everybody thinks there's a chance. I mean, this is the myopia that leads to extraordinarily narrow visions of possibility. And what I do in the books and the talks is point out that there are just a few more possibilities than the ones we download from the education system and the mainstream media and science and what have you. Because in the end, the world is living within what I call the postage stamp consensus. It's a consensus of normal, which is the education system downloads to children from the earliest age, which the whole education system going into college and university is based upon. And then people who've been through that go out to be journalists, they go out to be scientists, they go out to be politicians and doctors and what have you. And they take that postage stamp consensus of normal with them and constantly then confirm to each other that that is reality and that is credible and that's reason and that's rational, that's logical. And that's fine if they want to live their lives following a program. But there's another part of that which is not all right. And that's that those that accept the postage stamp consensus of normal, which is like laughably narrow in its possibility, they then police the postage stamp. Anyone who steps off it and says, hold on a minute, I've got another view of this, I'm not sure this is right, you're mad, you're crazy, you're dangerous. And so we have this crazy situation with humanity because of this, where we don't sheep the sheep. You know, people laugh at sheep. Oh, they follow the one in front and then they run away from the sheepdog and all the fear and all that stuff. We've out-sheep the sheep. Humans have dispensed with the sheepdog. We keep each other in line.
Is there anyone
It's crazy.
on Earth now that you look to for inspiration?
No, I look to inspiration to myself and expanded levels of consciousness that give you that inspiration. What I have great respect for are people who will stand up, speak their truth, not someone else's truth, and take the consequences of doing so, because there are consequences. I've gone through massive, historical levels of ridicule in the last 26 years. Look, it's dying down now, is what I wrote, it turns out to be happening. So I know what it's like to step off the postage stamp, and I have enormous respect for anyone who does that, not just those who do it in the public eye, but those who sitting around the table at work with their mates or with their family at home will still speak their truth, even though they're going to get dismissed and laughed at and waved away. That's what we need. That's the spirit we need to break this collective program, and that's for people to stop going through mental gymnastics. Well, this is what I think, but I better not say it, because what will they think of me? Because I'll tell you from experience, when you talk to people in private, quietly, they'll tell you what they think, and it ain't what they say in public. And they don't say it in public because they're frightened of the response. The biggest prison that people live in, and the prison on which the whole global conspiracy depends, is the fear of what other people think. When that's gone, the conspiracy's gone, because its foundation is gone.
So what advice would you give to your children who are about my age? Like, what should we be doing now as young voters that we can help to change the world in the next 30 years?
Well, first of all, realise that voting is a waste of space. We have a political system which is supposed to be a multi-party system, and it's a one-party state. It's a one-party state in America, it's a one-party state in Britain and Europe, and it's a one-party state in Australia.
We're up on Parliament in Australia over and over again.
It's another one-party state. Let's look at how it works, because when you break it down, I mean, it explains itself. In almost every country, you have two parties that have any chance of forming a government. Sometimes three, but it's usually two. Okay. You vote for party one, and they go into government, and you don't like what they've done. So, to get rid of them, at the next election, you've got to vote for party two. They get into government, they do the same as the others, because it's a one-party state with a hidden hand working through all these parties, which is why nothing changes in terms of the direction the country goes. And so, now you've got party two in, having removed party one, because you didn't like them. Now you don't like party two. How do you get rid of party two? You have to vote for party one. And this is what happens in every country. And what it is, it's a mind game. It's kidding the population that they have a choice politically, and they don't. You know the reason that Australians get fined if they don't vote is because the system is terrified of people sussing what I've just said and thinking the best statement I can make in terms of the way the country is run is not to vote and say I'm not supporting a rigged system. So they fine you if you don't vote to keep the rigged system with some kind of credibility with people actually going out and voting. The difference between the Australian Liberal coalition and the Labour Party, you don't get a cigarette paper between them, in truth. And it's the same with the Labour Party of Tony Blair and what have you, the new Labour of Tony Blair that he created, and the Conservative Party. It's the same with the Republicans and the Democrats. You see, there's so little between the Republicans and the Democrats, they now have to sell you a circus. Oh, look, first black president. Oh, that keep me interested. Oh, first woman president. Oh, that keep me interested. Oh, there's this maverick called Trump. Oh, that'll keep me interested. And it's all covering the fact that whoever comes into power, the same things will happen. And what a wonderful example Barack Obama has given us. No one in 2008 could have said more often that he was about change, that he was different. And what has happened in these 8 years in power is that he has simply continued the policies that Bush put in place. Bush, Republican, Democrat, Obama, same direction of the country, same direction of the world. It's a one-party state, and people need to realise that voting is a contrary, unless people have genuine choice, and that's the last thing the system wants to give them.
One of the big issues in America is obviously gun laws, and I've read that you're pro the rights of people having their own guns. Louis Road, or one of his, like, I think it's his Wild Weekend show, he went out to, like, I think it's Area 51, the area in America with the aliens, and he followed some people that went and, like, were hunting aliens. Have you ever met anyone that hunts aliens, and what are your thoughts on politically, like, fighting or preparing for, like, war that's from threats not of this earth?
Well, first of all, I've never had anyone hunted an alien. And in terms of gun laws, I'm not in favour of people owning guns or people not owning guns. That's not the debate that I'm saying should take place. The question is, why, in the United States, for instance, is there such a campaign to disarm the population at the same time, this is the point, that the law enforcement authorities are being armed to the teeth with high-tech military hardware. We're having county police forces going round in tanks given to them by the Pentagon under something called the 1033 policy. What do police want tanks for? What do police want these military weapons for? At the same time, they're pressing to take guns away from the population. Now, if you want to impose, and this is the plan here, basically a coup on America, not just America, other places too, what you need to do it more effectively is you want an unarmed population. So these are the subtleties of what I'm talking about. You can have a black and white debate, guns or no guns, and people should have that debate. What I'm saying is ask the question, a bit of subtlety. Why is this campaign to disarm the American population going on precisely the time that this extraordinary level of military armament is now becoming commonplace throughout the American law enforcement industry? Now, that's the question.
So where would you like to see the world in 30 years in the best case scenario? How do you imagine the world?
Well, the more you centralise power, the more power you give to a few to control more and more people. And and we have this thing called globalisation, which is simply the conspiracy I've been exposed to for 20 years. Unfolding globalisation, the centralisation of power globally over every area of our lives. Now, there's a simple thing. Not only is it true that the more you centralise power, the more power the few have over the many, but the more power you gather at the centre, the more power you have to gather more power at the centre and more power at the centre faster and faster and faster, which is why this globalisation and centralisation is getting faster and faster and faster. And we're faced with a position now with the Trans-Pacific Partnership and our version in Europe, the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership and CETA between the EU and Canada. These trade agreements are actually one trade agreement under different names because they're all saying the same. And that is giving extraordinary power to corporations to take governments to corporate courts for making decisions for the benefit of the people or the benefit of the environment, but
could be construed to affect future possible profits of the corporations. This is how far down this road we've gone. So you can create or look for a solution to something, or you can do the best thing, the most effective thing, which is removing the cause of the problem. And so we need to reverse this centralization of power, and we need to start devolving power. So people have more and more power away from the centre and in their own communities, where people making decisions about things are affected by the actual decisions they're making. If you have bureaucrats in Brussels dictating to the entirety of Europe, they're dictating the fine detail of people's lives in places they've never been, sometimes never heard of. And that gives enormous centralisation of power to the few. That has to be reversed. There's many things we need to do, but that has to be reversed. Because if it isn't, we're going to end up where this whole conspiracy wants to go. And that is with the world controlled by a world government, a world central bank, a world army, this is NATO being moved into place and expanding all the time, a world currency, which I've been writing about for 20 odd years, the cashless world currency. What is happening in country after country? They're going cashless, exactly as my book said would happen over 2 decades ago. Why? Because it's a plan, and once you access that plan...
2 decades ago, we were on the gold standard, weren't we?
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, with a cashless society, without cash, there's nothing you can do that the authorities don't know you've done. There's no privacy. And secondly, if you go into a shop now and you give them a credit card, cashless money, and they say, "I'm sorry, the computer won't accept your card," at least you can pay cash. When there's no cash and the computer won't accept your card or your microchip as it's planned to be, then you have no means of purchasing short of barter. Barter which will be made illegal on the basis of it can't be taxed. So, these things are where we're going. And if we're going in that direction and it's a nightmare, then this is the direction we need to go. And not just in terms of centralization, but in endless other ways.
What would you...
Can we leave it there?
Yeah.
There
we go.
I've got about 10 hours.
Yeah,
Sorry.
No problem.
sorry to...
Well, it's good, I enjoyed that.
Oh, thank you. You're a good speaker, obviously.
Yeah, 10 hours.